real quick, I'll do an introduction. The webmaster is James Williams. He and I have been working off and on for about a week and a half now, and we really thought we would be much better prepared for this. He might be joining us. The website was built by, and Cindy will have the information on this.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop off and go over to the other Zoom account because I'm getting people showing up there. So
Okay,
I'll be
I
right
couldn't
back.
even get in to tell him anything. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I don't know what happened with the Zoom link. I don't know why. Yeah, don't know why it didn't work. Anyway, sorry about that. So the website was built by South Seattle College students, I believe, in a computer science degree program. So it's a little wonky. James and I were both surprised at how difficult it was to play with, even though it's built on WordPress, which is incredibly common, and James and I have both played around with that. So we're going to do a lot of discussion around websites, and I will show you what's possible, but it would be very clunky for me or even James to build a website with you guys online. It would be frustrating, and it's a lot of hunting and pecking, and we don't want to make you go through that. So I am going to share my screen, and we're going to look at the Hub website the way it currently is, and I'll tell you a little bit about what we're thinking. So can everybody see my screen okay? Okay, so this is the Hub website, the way it looks right now. Currently, one of the issues, Cindy and James and I all had a telephone conference about this whole thing, and this tab, excuse me, where it says neighborhoods, and if somebody went to the Hub website and they're looking for their neighborhood and they don't see it, they don't know what to do. They don't know if their neighborhood has one and they can't find it. So this tab, we believe, is very confusing. So we are going to take this tab off, and how folks will find your Hub and the website that we're encouraging you to build is under the Hub map. So I'm going to open up the map and scroll down. I'm not sure. I think the Miqua ones are all linked. Here. There we go. So this is Frank's Hub, the Magnolia Playfield Hub. Here's the address, Frank's name, Frank's email, a phone number, and then this is where Frank's website link goes. Now, Frank's website, and I'm assuming Bill Fay is part of this too, the Miqua Hubs have their own site. So that's a little bit different than what we can offer through the SeattleEmergencyHubs.org domain. So if I clicked this link, I'm going outside of the Hub website, and I'm going to a website that I believe.
What's Miqua?
Magnolia Inner Bay Queen Anne. Okay. So they just mashed all the initials together of that.
Okay.
You're not going to find anything at miquahubs.org. It's not working.
Okay, good. Thanks, Bill. Thank you. That'll save us some time. That's why you're here. Okay. So this website link goes to another website that Bill and Frank were probably paying for. And there's two costs when you start up a website. You have to pay for the domain name. So miquahubs.org belongs to Bill and Frank, and they're paying for that privilege. You're also paying a host, oh gosh, what are they called? A platform. You're also paying somebody to keep your website sort of up and running. So there are two costs to a website, to have your own website. And it's not super expensive, but it's not super cheap either. And it's not a one-time charge. It's a yearly charge or monthly, however you're billed. So that's how one Hub has done it, where they built their own website and they're paying for it out of their own funds. we have the ability to build these websites underneath seattleemergencyhubs.org, and therefore there's no cost to you. So let's go to, I'm trying to think of a good one. Let's go to Wedgwood and see what they have.
Question.
Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Since I've built my own and I have my own domain, would it be something that we can link from the map, or do you want to keep it all under the same domain,
No.
same design?
Yeah, if you've got it, let's link it. Let's use it. There's no reason to force your square peg into our round hole. Yeah, and Miqua, if you guys want to keep doing it yourselves, that's great. If you'd rather drop what you're doing on miqua.org and build something underneath seattleemergencyhubs.org, that's fine. So either system will work. Good question, Matt. So this is Wedgwoods. It's not beautiful, but you can tell we are still under seattleemergencyhubs.org. You know, it's not much of a blurb here. Interesting that Cindy's name is there. They have one little.
And there's
what's
an
called
error over there that,
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, the error is something different. The reason my name is there is those of you who were here in 2015 when this website came up, we said we will create web presence for everybody in this link down thing. And I asked everybody to send me what you wanted. And so at the time, Wedgwood didn't have a hub captain, and they come and gone. So in order for anybody to reach anybody live, I'm currently the only one for Wedgwood. So, you know, like do Broadview,
Okay.
you know, some folks gave information and corrected their context. So we're all over the map, but quite a few of them said we want to do a web page, and then they never got around to it. So there's still this kind of under construction placeholder for people.
So what you're looking at now is a really generic template that we can start with, and you guys can modify, tell us what you want modified, and we'll change it. Like, so under Broadviews, this top right widget, join our mailing list. We don't believe that this is, if somebody signed up for this, we think they're signed up for the network email list, not for the Broadview email list, if there is such a thing. So maybe that's not a widget you want. Recent posts, unless you're continually adding stuff to your web page, then if this is going to be what's called a static page, then you don't want recent posts because there's no changes. Same thing, maybe you don't want recent comments.
No. I've turned off comments for everyone, and I don't know if you remember this. We get so many spam and porn comments that you just don't want it.
Okay.
You don't
So
want
we
it.
would just take this out, the recent comments.
Yep.
Same thing with archives. It's just not helpful. And this list of other hubs is not really helpful on Broadview's page. So one of the things to discuss tonight is what might be helpful. And if we all pitch in ideas, then you can create the best website for you. So if we took all these widgets off, but we still have space here to put them on, what widgets might you want on your web page? And I'll start it off with a donate now button. That's kind of why this whole conversation is coming up, is that you guys want a place for your neighbors to be able to donate. And so you would put a donate now button up here linked to your checking account or your Square account or your Venmo account, or however you want to do it. There's a million different ways to do that. But I would say donate now with a little blurb about what it is you need will be a lovely widget over here on the right-hand side.
it seems to
can-
me that since we aren't providing water and non-perishable food and stuff, that there needs to be a heading there that's saying we don't do this at the hub.
Sure, if that's what you want on your page, everybody's a little bit different. There's nothing.
Yeah. Because I mean, that's one of the, you know, the things that, I don't know. Okay, over.
Sure.
Were you saying that because of the picture of the water bottles?
Yes, and I think that list is things we're encouraging people to gather themselves. But because there isn't a heading above it saying that, someone just scanning over the page could think that you go to the hub to get those things, is my point.
Sure. And everybody will have, it'll be a little bit different for everybody. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get to mine or post it because I did a little bit of that. Here we go, visit site. So, oh, nuts.
Yeah, Jody, you're right. It's the quality of the creator of the content who put it up there. And so, you know, somebody can call, you know, get a hold of Dale and say, hey, Dale, you know, as a viewer who's didn't build the web page, I noticed that I could be misled into thinking you're going to give me water, and we can all help each other bulletproof our pages by doing it.
Right.
So this is the Victory Heights page, and it's not posted. It's still in draft form because I was experimenting on me first. And this is just what my initial thoughts about what I'd like to put up there. It's very tiny print, so I'll read it off. After a significant event in our community, neighbors will gather in the Victory Heights Park to organize and support one another. And then I have a picture of the box closed and a picture of the box opened. And then at the bottom, it says our hub box does not contain food or water. It contains tables, signs, and paperwork to help us organize. The hub has one mission: to support neighbors helping neighbors. Mark your calendar now for our upcoming disaster practice on Sunday, June 11th, 2023. Join our mailing list to stay updated on preparedness efforts in Victory Heights and across the city. And then it's the Victory Heights hub account, Gmail account. So that's, you know, that was my first stab at what I thought should be on my page. This doesn't look good, but it could look good. This is the map of Victory Heights. James and I were surprised that this was so difficult, this widget over here, so difficult to get a map widget, but we can figure it out. It's just going to take a little bit more time. And then below that is my donation stuff. And it just says donate to the Victory Heights Emergency Communication Hub. And then we have a Square site, and then we also have a Venmo account. So people could dump money into our account that way. So this is what an important thing to think about is I think it's safe to say most people visit sites, do their internet searching stuff on their phones. It is more common. It is more common than we realize. I can't live without a desktop, but I'm not the average person. The average person is younger and does everything on their phone. So this view is what it looks like on a computer screen. And then down here at the bottom left, I'm going to click on the button that looks like a phone, and it will show you what it looks like if I were to look at this website on my phone. So it's very skinny. All the wording is still there, but I'm just having to scroll down. And this weird looking widget is the map. So it took the widgets that were on the right-hand side of the page and shoved them underneath it when you're looking at all this stuff on a phone. No biggie. It's just, you know, this is how it loads on a phone because you can't have everything side by side because it's too wide. So there's my map stuff, and then there's that donation stuff. So that's just how it looks on a phone, and it's something you might want to keep in mind when you're figuring out what to put on your website. So I'm going to stop sharing and just listen to what you guys think about what you might want on your website that maybe we haven't looked at yet. Go ahead, Jody.
Having been around quite a long while, I find it's much easier to raise money if you tell people what it's for. So I would suggest that as being something very important, and also something that should be updated periodically as some needs are either met or others become more important.
Nice. Yeah, I totally get that. Another thought that you made me think of, Jody, while you were talking, was there are some hubs that have created an Amazon gift list, and there's also someone that has done a My Registry. And both of them are, you know, they're like, I don't know, registries, wedding registries, new baby registries, whatever. You're putting on there what it is you want. So instead of a donate money, you could also give them a link to your My Registry page and have them order exactly what you want. The canopy you want, the bullhorn you want, the caution tape you want, whatever. So that's easily another widget you could throw on here to do exactly what Jody's talking about, which is give them tell them
and
exactly what you need.
it would also be nice if somewhere, and maybe it exists and I just haven't found it yet, there was a list of things that most, all hubs find useful, whether they have them or would find useful if they had them, so that new people like me can talk to other people and assess what's going on and see what we think is the top of our list. But it helps if you have a prepared list to choose from. So that would be something that could be developed that would help all the hubs, perhaps.
Are you talking about hub gear, stuff that goes in the box?
Yes, right.
Okay.
Or that people could have to bring with them. So, kind of an overall wish list that hubs could choose from. Maybe it's on there already. If it is,
It is.
that would be lovely.
Yeah, it's under
exists.
Hub in a Box. It's a spreadsheet.
Okay,
Of
hub
all
in a
the gear.
box.
Now,
Okay.
it doesn't have super duper goodies, we could have another tab of, like, if you got money to spend, here's some cool
Yeah.
stuff, but the basics are all on the spreadsheet.
Okay, so the basics are there, and then maybe people can add to the goodies list.
Right.
We have a Hub 2.0 list, which is a
Okay.
list of gear that fits in a bigger box, which a lot of us are struggling with. So, you can ask for all the gear in the world, but you may not be able to fit it into the size of box you have.
Well, I live a block and a half from our hub, so.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you could keep it in the extra bonus stuff in the garage. And if your box isn't cemented down, I'd recommend it.
Yeah. Something that we're doing in my hub to save on space is the hard hats. They're great to have, but they're really big. They're terrible as far as taking up space. So I have given those to the volunteers in my community that have keys to the hub. So if the balloon ever goes up and you're walking to the hub, make sure you grab your hard hat, your set of keys, and your bottle of water. So it's, just think of stuff you could get out of your hub so you could get more interesting stuff in it.
So, Anne, just to make sure people, what do you want on your website is kind of where we're at, and what would be templates we could offer. I want to make sure everybody understands that once we help you set your site up, let's say you're going to do one link to the domain, we'll have to teach you how to do that, but you and your hub will be responsible for updating it. You can't call Cindy or Anne or our webmaster du jour and say, we just finished that event, can you take that down? That's your responsibility, because we can't manage 71 different hubs of continuously churning information. We want it to be current. We really hope you guys will do this. You just have to get someone who looks at it once a month and goes, ooh, that's out of date now, or whatever, right? Or if you're not sure of your abilities to keep it update, you make it more generic and
Static.
just go that way.
So once we get this a little bit more established, it won't be hard for us to write directions step by step how you go in and change it. Like I said, it was a lot trickier than either James or I were expecting. Bill, did you want to say something?
Yeah, well, it's just sort of in the same mode of keeping it up to date. I think one thing that you should put on your front page is sort of what's happening next, whether it's a calendar or it's just a list of events that one suggests that this is up to date, and thus if they see something on there that's already gone past, they know that no one's dealing with this website. Well, you have to keep ahead of that. But if you keep something there that then when they go there, they say, oh, okay, my neighborhood is going to be doing this on such a date. So I think that's one element, whether it's a widget or just a info box or whatever, something that can be, edited.
I don't know that the widget that currently controls the overall Hub Network calendar we'll have to ask James, if you can have that on your page, then you guys don't have to update anything, because you're already telling me, because I've committed to keeping the calendar updated. You know, we're going to have, like, I'll use Gabrielle's. She's got something coming up in March. And so if it went on the main calendar over there on the widget, you know, people would go, well, I wonder what's going on. And they would see all the other stuff, but they would be able to see Gabrielle's event too. So that keeps you guys, I don't know that we can have 71 different widgets, right? That widget is about $150 per year cost for us to use at the network. So,
Well, so then the point is, can we have just an information box that we can title it, you know, calendar, upcoming events
oh,
or
yeah.
what?
Well, you can design your web page exactly like that. You
Okay.
just have to put the information in it.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we're using the word widget. I don't know that this is what's going on would go into a widget. I would say it's just a post on your page. It's just a text box. So I don't want folks to be afraid. Hang on just a second. Catherine,
Susie was about
Susie.
to ask a question too.
Yeah. I don't want you to not do this because of this idea of having to update it. Like when I put, hopefully you're seeing my screen. When I put this stuff up here, I have no intention of playing with it
Right.
anytime soon. It's
Right.
just not on my radar. But you know, maybe someday I will, and who knows? At least it gives folks some place to go and find out more about my little neighborhood. And more than anything, I'm keep pushing the idea of, if there's a disaster, come to the park. That's my message right now, is just come to the park, not anything more detailed. So, sorry, go ahead, Susie. What was your question?
One of the things that you'll see at the huddle on Tuesday night, on the display table, we've taken pictures of what our venues look like, both Braeburn and North Cap Hill, on the ground, so that you see the church, you see the condominium building, so that you've got a visual marker to identify. Just as with Victory Heights, we see the tennis courts. I think from my point of view, if we started with the map, and the map took us to the individual hub pages, I think it would be redundant to show the map again in miniature on the small page. But it might be a really good thing to have a street visual of how, you know, what the hub looks like as you approach it.
Sure. And Susie, it kind of depends on how your audience is getting to your page. If for me, if I'm going to tell people I have a web page, it's going to say www.seattleemergencyhubs.org/Victory Heights.
Right.
So if they go straight to that, they have bypassed the map. So, you know, I get that a map sounds redundant, but it may not be. It just depends on how your audience gets there.
Yeah. Good point.
Gabrielle raised her hand.
Did you have something, Gabrielle?
Yeah, I had a couple things. I like the idea of the picture. I like, in addition to the map, a written description of the location of the hub, because I think for some people that's easier than visualizing on a map, just depending where you are. I would like to see a short description about, remember, this is when our hub activates. Like, again, so you heard that, and then how to get involved or who to email for more information. And yet some of that's probably repeating from the front page, but people might bypass the front page and go right to what they
I think that's
of as
good. You know,
their
it's just,
their
if you
hub.
change contacts, you got to change them in both places, right? So that's where
Yeah,
the update
yeah.
stuff comes in.
And I think, I think all the other things people talked about, really great. And the donate is nice, but I think, like, who do I talk to about this? Like, would be a good, you know, a good thing to add.
A name and a
Either a
contact
name
information.
or an organization email, or like Cindy's, if it's her community group, talk to anybody in our community group, right? Something like that. How to get,
Hey, for everybody that's on the phone call, raise your hand if you have a separate hub hub email address that is not your personal account.
I use my Windermere North Community Association one.
Okay,
So I'll
so it's
call it separate. Yeah.
it's less than I thought. So if you have any desire to have a Gmail account, or I guess you can still get Hotmail accounts, I don't know. If you want an email address that is separate from your personal one, just yell. I've done several of them for several folks, and I'm happy to do that. It just, a couple things. I think it makes us look a little bit more respectable, adult, I don't know what the word is, mature. And if you ever need to go out of town, or throw up your hands and go, I can't do this anymore, it's a little bit easier to pass along. So I don't think a email address separate from your personal one is a bad idea. So, and it's not hard to do. You just have to raise your hand and let us know you want one.
And it
So
can be
this is
shared
Gabrielle
among-
again. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Susie.
And it can be shared among co-captains
Yes.
or whomever you delegate to do work.
Yeah, we can make emails that come into that account. We can force them to go to your personal accounts without ever giving the person the information that of your personal account. We can make it forward automatically. So you don't have to go in and check this separate email account. We will push them to your personal account. Go ahead, Gabrielle.
It used to be with Gmail, you could build a super simple website. I assume you still can. So I was thinking of that as an option, because then it would be tied to my neighborhood Gmail account. So that might be another option if people have emails.
To build a website, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, through Gmail, you used to be able to build a super simple website using the Google, I don't know what it's called, Blogger. It's like one of the really old ones. But that might be an option if people have Gmails and then want to build very simple
Matt,
pages.
do you know if that's still available?
So
How much
Google
is it?
Sites is available. That's actually what I built my hub website in. It's a little bit different than Blogger, but it does allow you to use a custom domain. But if you wanted to use email with a custom domain through Google, you would have to sign up for Workspace, because otherwise it's going to be an @gmail.com. So if you want a custom domain for your website, you'd have to both register that for about $10 a year.
I think people weren't thinking of custom domains. I think Anne was just saying, like, some organizations have like a victoryheights@gmail.com, right?
Sure.
So
yeah,
they
that
have an
wouldn't be
email
tied
that's
to the
not their
website.
personal name. Yeah. Thanks.
Any more questions about what Gabrielle and Matt were talking about? Okay.
So there's three options then. There is build your own site, buy your own domain, or use Google or whatever. There is link it to a nested page within the hub website. And there is, if you don't even have if you're new and you don't have the bandwidth or are ready to do it, your contact information will always still be in the map. So, the other two are redundant or just, provides more information. You'll always be on the map.
Okay, so question.
Mhm.
So you're talking about linking it to the hub website. Is that basically creating a separate page of that website?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
And would it be a separate page for each hub then? Or is there some way, for instance, to associate all the Queen Anne, Magnolia, Interbay hubs together who think of themselves as a unit, and Capitol Hill hubs that think of ourselves as a unit? Or
And if you share your screen and
Collaborate.
you drop down the My Sites, they'll be able to see how it works. So
Yeah.
yes, Miqua could say, we don't want to do 3 separate web pages. We want to have the, Magnolia, I would spell it out, Magnolia, Queen Anne, Interbay link.
Sorry. All right, neighborhoods.
Well, no, go to my sites.
Oh.
Although I'm thinking, yeah. See, all those right there are editable
Separate pages.
separate pages with their own URLs.
Yes. So what I just put in the chat was, I believe, the link to my website. Don't go to it because it's not published at the moment, but that's what they look like. It's the normal website address for the network and then just your name, your hub's name after it. So your website would have a name very similar to what's in chat. And yeah, if Miqua, for example, wanted to do, you know, instead of Queen Anne, this could be all of Miqua, and you could just somehow lump them under there, if that made sense.
Yes,
I
it
don't-
does.
Does it? Okay. Bill, why would you do it that way instead of everybody having their own page? Is it a maintenance thing?
Well, it's more of we had this consortium between Magnolia and Queen Anne, the people interested over there and us over here, and we just sort of kept working together. So at one point we had maybe up to 10 people meeting monthly to talk about everything in terms of education and drills and our hub boxes and everything else. We were, meeting once a month, and that cover all fell apart with COVID and people moving away. So that's the sort of the idea of going back to that, is that we keep everybody together, at least in terms of these two neighborhoods. That's up for discussion. That's up for changes, because things have kind of splintered here in the past couple of years. So it can go either way. But right now we have brochures and we have a lot of information out there. The
That are-
community councils of Magnolia and Queen Anne have a lot of stuff on, buried in there, resources and links that talk about miquahubs.org. And of course, it's not working right now, and that's kind of a long story, but I would like, because of all that sort of publicity out there, I want to get back to making miquahubs.org do something. Now, if we come back to something that's sitting on the Seattle Emergency Hubs platform, then we can probably go back out to miquahubs.org and get it pushed over
Yeah.
to seattleemergencyhubs.org/Miqua, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know if
It's-
it's an auto push, but you can certainly cut and paste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could
We'll just
create,
rebuild it. Yeah.
you can also create a redirect. So if you do gain control of miquahubs.org again, anybody going to there, you could push them to the Seattle Hubs website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or whether we just send them to the big website or whether we send them to the page. Like I say, if we have two pages, a Magnolia page and a Queen Anne page, that would be a problem. So we would have to combine them on the Seattle Emergency Hubs page, website, a Miqua page. But that's, under development.
And just think about who are you building this website for? It's not necessarily your current volunteers, it's your neighbors that are researching hubs and what the heck this is. So maybe Miqua makes sense to them, maybe a Magnolia site just by itself would make more sense. Yeah, go ahead,
Okay.
Ellen.
So I came on a little late, but I heard you talking about, and I heard Cindy talking about the options here. So Roosevelt is not in the list of neighborhoods yet and doesn't have a page. So but we were looking at the network pages the other day, and just to see what was there and what we might want there. So who do I talk to about creating something?
Yeah, it's either going to be me or James. I'm not exactly sure how we're going to do it, but what we're doing right now is trying to throw ideas out there of what you might want on your page, so that you're not on the phone or a Zoom call with either James or I and building it you know, and deciding when we get there what you want, you kind of already know these are the 3 widgets I want. This is the paragraph. These are the 4 pictures I want. And so it's a really fast build. So that's kind of what this meeting is for, is to give you ideas of what you want to gather and maybe sketch it out on paper if you want. That's not a big deal, but think about what you want up there. Do you want it static, or do you want to go in once a month and change something? What pictures do you want? Make sure they're good pictures. Don't throw crappy pictures up there. Spend some time and get some good pictures of either your neighborhood or your box or whatever makes sense for you. We've talked about a written description of the location, especially if you're in a wonky, park or parking lot or something like that. So I'm going to read off the list of stuff. A donate button, donate now button. Maybe make it very specific about what you want as far as gear. And maybe instead of giving us money, you want to send them to a myregistry.com website where they can buy the exact canopy you want or the exact bullhorn or whatever. A calendar. So maybe linking to the big network calendar might be something you'd want on yours. A map like Google Maps, or a written description of location. Maybe a blurb about when we activate, depending on where your community is about understanding hubs. Maybe something really simple that says if there's a disaster, go to the church parking lot. Maybe that's the message you need to be pushing right now. And then definitely contact info. For more information, contact this person at this email address. So those are the ones we have so far. Anything else you think you'd like to see on one of these pages?
Current goals might be interesting. As different hubs are at different phases of their development, they will be focusing on working on different things. And it might be interesting for people to know what the current focus is.
Yeah.
Things also that hubs have, individual hubs have developed by way of preparedness. Those would be great resources to highlight.
Yeah. And you might, maybe your page has 2 sentences or 1 sentence. And what it does is it links you to the posts that are at the front of the website that the whole network sees. Because a lot of that stuff, like Cindy has put on, I don't know, Cindy, what was your last?
It was a while ago.
So this is the main page. Self-help posters available in 13 languages. You could highlight that with 1 sentence on your website in case they skipped this main page and went straight to your site.
Mhm.
So there's some play back and forth.
Yeah.
I wanted to show you Lake Cities as just another example of how this is laid out. I think, they've got a logo, which I think is fabulous. This is a bit old, May 2014.
They've
don't know
also
if they-
moved, haven't they?
No, they're still there. Northeast Seattle, I'm not even sure who that is.
They're there. Well, Northeast used to be the conglomeration that of all the Northeast hubs. They wanted their own
Oh.
webpage.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
So that includes
we have
me.
not done anything with this neighborhoods tab. Once we hit the point where very few people really wanted to provide information and even fewer wanted to update it. So we put in a lot of place markers. North Capitol Hill and Brayburns are super new. Susie's bringing us up. And by the way, Susie, did you see that there are some test posts sitting on that? And I don't know where those came from.
I'll go back.
I just saw that right now. I wondered.
And I thought maybe you and Ann had gotten in and were doing something, but or maybe Gina knows how to do something. I have no idea what those are.
Nope. That's the first time I've.
I'll go look at them.
Okay.
So is this something that people would be able to go in and edit themselves? Will you delegate permissions?
Yeah.
And
So
do
when
they
you-
have- and do they have to log on with the
No.
master? Oh, thank God.
No. Every web page has, it's definitely the webmaster, Cindy or I or James or whatever. that person has permission, but then we also give the owner of that page permission. So like my Victory Heights page has my Hotmail address as well as the admin address. So either one of those people could go in and change it. And we would try and safeguard it so that once your page is built and you've said, I want to update it, we will try really hard not to let you go into anything other than your page to play with, to manipulate it, because you might have the capability of crashing the whole thing. We don't know.
Well, that was specifically what I was asking. So we should do some testing.
Yeah, we will.
And may I make a comment about the map page? Could you?
Sure.
Right now?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you're talking about the big map?
Yeah. Scroll back. Could you scroll back to the very top of that page? I find it very frustrating, and I've noticed other people find it frustrating too, that these are wonderful images, but when the label says map and what you land on is an image that you then have to scroll down in order
past,
to get
yeah.
to the map. It's
I
very
will
frustrating.
confess that I could not get Patricia to teach me. That's called a slider.
Okay.
She loved it. She would not take it off because she says it's part of what you need to have to drive views. You know, Google evaluates whether you've got all the right parts of a website. And I begged her to teach me how to change that, and she never would. So at some point I'll have James or Matt go in and just eliminate it, because I hate those.
You're in good
Yeah,
company,
that shouldn't
Susie.
be too hard to remove.
Yeah.
Um,
I think James has probably just never been asked, is my guess.
Well, I've got him lined up with about 1,000 other things. So that's fallen to the bottom.
Yeah.
Right. But this is such a cool thing that this map explodes and you can go into it in such minute detail and find exactly where you are. And that it's connected to the individual details of each hub is marvelous too.
Yeah.
Just to be able to get to it and land on it would be fabulous.
Yeah.
It does say, however, that it has snap groups also.
Mhm.
But apparently, you know, there's some controversy about having the snap groups up. I'm still kind of confused about that.
There's actually for what we show with the snap groups and the Blockwatch groups, those people came to our website and registered. So they've agreed.
They're self-reported.
Yes, and
Okay.
they signed a thing that say, I agree that I will share my public information. In fact, today I got someone registering as someone who's trained in CERT in the Southeast sector. So I'm getting, the CERT list continues to grow too.
Yeah. Wonderful.
But what's on there does not nearly represent what is in the city. We just keep having to ask them to re-advertise that people should come here and self-register.
Yeah.
Yes, that would be great.
So Susie, along with this idea of taking off the slider, I think on this page, I would consider taking these widgets off, because they're just
agree.
taking up room and they're available on every other page, and really highlight the map, because that is how they're going to find us.
Exactly.
They're
I
not
agree.
in the not too distant future. There's not going to be a neighborhoods tab here.
I think taking down all those things on the right-hand side, the recent news, the mailing list, I don't see why they are appearing every time on every page.
Yeah.
If they
It's
appear
how,
on the
it's
first
how it was
page,
built with the
Yeah, it's the
widgets. So
template.
I'm going to protect James. We spun him up and he agreed to do this because I said, I only really have to call you once a month with some emergency. So now we've just gone, boom. So I would like to help Ann finish the project of make a decision on how we're going to provide you deeper visibility from the map page. Is it just contact? Is it your own web page? Is it a linked web page? And get that finished. And then we'll come back and mess with the big stuff. Because, I don't think I want to ask James to do all of it at once, because sometimes if you're doing too many things at the same time, you create unintended oopses.
yeah.
Also, if all that stuff was taken off on the right-hand side, there might be more room for the map, which would be very helpful when you're trying to plot around in there and
And go
find
back
what
to,
you want to find.
no, go back to the map, Ann. I need to show you guys if you don't know this. It's a trick.
Okay.
And then I see Matt. So scroll
Yeah.
down. If you click stop, you went a little too far. Click the full screen. That will solve all your problems right there. You know, now you can zoom and you can move it much easier than when it's in that window. So just so you know that.
Did you see that
Yep.
that thing?
Yep.
Yeah, it's this top right corner, full screen,
Yeah.
view larger map.
Great.
Matt, you've been very patient.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we were just thinking of improvements. Regarding the map, one thought I had was that it's very busy, and it's difficult to see the difference between the active and active hubs. It's it's just that little circle.
I'm gonna
Mhm.
say I'm maxed out. Please put off any of this main stuff for a little while. Okay.
If you
Yeah.
want to get rid of it, it's this little arrow thing. You can take all those off, and then the map itself gets much cleaner.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest maybe we have a feature where people can just put in their address or zip code and find the closest hub to them, so they don't have to
Oh,
scroll through the
that's
map.
You can put that on, you put it on the to-do list.
on the wish
next
list.
year.
Yeah, that's way out there, but that's a
Yeah.
good one, Matt.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then I noticed some of the social media links we have are kind of dead, like Twitter we haven't used in 2016, and Google Plus doesn't exist anymore, so we might want to
Yeah, we'll clean
clean
it
those
up.
up.
Some of the P patches are going to be taken off the list too. I know there was a time frame on that, but that would clean the map up too.
They have been taken off. Cindy and the team have been doing a lot of work with P patches.
They only removed about 10.
So the rest of them are going to stay. Even if they're not developed, they're not bad meeting sites.
Yeah, you guys don't know, but Ann and I have been meeting with these people for 2 years. We devote hours every month to how are we going to grow these P patch hubs. And the new supervisor, we get to start all over again,
Yeah.
and so we
Just
have been
lost one.
trying to make this, we've been trying to make hey, they're just places turn into something more. And there's at some point where we're just going to say, nope, we're done. We're just going to take them all off and you guys start all over again, but we're not ready to make that many enemies yet. So there's a chat.
Yeah, there's a question in the chat. Mary Kate says, is there any info on the radio groups on the site? No, there's not. I'd like to share info about those to recruit more radio people in our neighborhood. So Mary Kate, there is such a thing as a ham huddle. And if you can talk, have you heard about that? Okay.
I have. I'm not sure you can hear me. I'm having a lot of
Yes.
headphone issues. Okay.
We can hear you.
I think I know of a couple radio operators in our neighborhood. I'm not sure how well connected they are, and I would just like to build up that part of our work.
Yeah, the ham huddle, I'll send you the information about how to host an event to try and pull those people out of the woodwork and get them engaged now. And then Susie Hammond is having a ham huddle. Susie, can you give the details or throw it in chat?
It's Tuesday night, and Mary Kate, you're welcome to come. I'll send you the invitation by email, and that will show you that's built on a template from Anne, the invitation itself. And at the event, Cindy will be giving a brief presentation, and Christian from ACS will be giving a brief presentation about ACS. And we're going to allow about half an hour for people to mingle. And there are 2 hubs involved, North Cap Hill and Braeburn Condominium Hub. So we've gathered or attempted to gather anyway. There are 130 ham operators listed in the FCC database as living on Capitol Hill. We've discovered that in fact, 20% of those have moved on. But we still are hopeful that we'll gather a large enough group. And then we just want to recruit them to participate in the activities and plans that we have for Radio on the Hill.
And
Great.
you know, Mary Kate, one of the first steps is, how do you know who are your ham radio operators up there? So Anne, in your template, does your ham huddle show her how to go to the website and get all the addresses of the ham radio
Yep.
operators? Great.
Yep.
And that's something that it would be nice for you and I and Russ to have a debrief on, to see if we
Yes.
can
Improve it.
improve that. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've learned a few things along the way. And
I bet. Yeah. Would love to do that. Yeah.
Did that answer your question, Mary Kate?
It did. I think primarily what I'm seeing is that for the Judkins Park, we're really off the ground. We have the box and it has stuff in it. But I think I would want to be sharing links from the resource part. And basically just changing out based on our goals are at the moment, whatever we're primarily working on, sharing a couple of the resource links from the other part of the website to our individual hub page, just saying, here's what we're working on. You can read more about it here.
Yep. One of the things, if you don't have time to spool up a ham huddle before our exercise in June 11th, that's what you can put on your invitation, is say, we're going to, you know, I don't think your hub is going to activate, but somewhere in your sector, there's going to be a hub that's running the exercise, and you'll probably want to go observe. And you can say to those people, come with us and observe, you know, another hub that's been doing this for a while, or we're all going to practice together. So, and then tease them with, and then we're going to have a radio specific, you know, conversation. But, you know, think of the other dates that are out there that you could put out and tease them with.
Yeah, I think I actually committed us to participating.
I'm not looking
So-
at my
Good
list.
on ya. Good on ya.
So we're gonna do it. I'm not sure how it's gonna go, but we're gonna do it.
Excellent. Sink or swim. All right. Any other thoughts? I'm going to type up this list of ideas for stuff on your web pages, and we'll reach back out when James and I have a little bit smoother process, and we'll start getting these built. Yes, ma'am. Cindy.
I didn't mean to sound grumpy about the main website, even though I was kind of grumpy. Let's finish this. Then when we see what those look like, that might better inform, and we can do one big massive update on the big page, right? I just don't want to piecemeal it. And I also don't want to say what we said tonight is only what we're going to do. There will be many other better ideas as well. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like noodle on it, but let's not commit until we get the first step done.
The more eyes we have looking at this website, the better we can make it.
And Russ will have some input on that too. He's been doing a lot of thinking of that in for us.
Love it.
One thing that we sort of researched the whole cost of doing a separate website, and the maintenance of it was going to be $15 a month. That's after costs for spending, you know, for purchasing the domain, etc. That was just the maintenance.
Hosting, the web hosting.
The hosting. Yeah.
And we just don't have that income.
Yeah. Yeah. And the domain is not a one-time, I don't think it's a one-time purchase. I think it's you pay every year.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
2 to
every
5
domain.
years, and it's pretty cheap. It is the hosting stuff. So I just paid the hub bill for 2 years of 10 years of domain, I think, or 5 years of domain and 2 years of hosting services, and it was $304.
But hosting the name is really between 10 and 15 bucks a year.
Mhm.
Yeah, it depends on
domain name.
on whether it's like a .com or .org.
Yeah.
So we're delighted that SEH is making these changes. Thank you very much.
It is a smart way to go, I think. Unless you've got a full-time webmaster that loves doing this stuff and wants to play, then yeah, you should go do your own site because you're going to be amazing. Okay, so I'm going to type up the ideas we had. Any last minute things you can think of that you might want to see on a website that somebody else might enjoy as well? Okay. Cindy, since we got folks here, do we have any last minute announcements?
No, I'm gonna send the email out about the March 18th welfare testing. We haven't really talked that, but I'm just gonna send out an email. I need to kind of go through the calendar and, because I keep jotting down people saying they've got dates and I've got to make sure I got them all. So
Yeah.
if you've said something, watch out, I may be calling you. Bill raised your hand.
It's just something, recently I came across something called CREW, CREW, or crew.org. It's the Cascadia Region Earthquake Work Group.
Work group. Yeah.
It's pretty big. I mean, it's bigger than Washington State. It's all about the Pacific Northwest. At the same time, it has a lot of good information about how to be prepared and how people are talking to each other and working together. Crew.org.
Cool.
I just had one thought, which may or may not be a good one. Is there maybe a space on there to list the jobs that there are at the emergency hub when it activates? So people can at least be familiar with them and maybe even be thinking what they have the ability and interest in to do.
I will write that down as an
Yeah.
option.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
could, that could
for the
just be a
main site.
post, you know, that
Right.
could just be a,
It could be a static post, here's the jobs. Because I think if people have a chance, have it kind of mulling around, they might step forward.
Yeah.
Just
Jody,
sort
I
of the
think
basic
what's,
Hub 101. info.
yeah. I think what Cindy's saying is we put that on as a network post.
Yeah,
And then you in your web page can just refer to it.
right, that would be
So
good.
you're not all having to take up all that space on your web page listing all those jobs.
and that was a
Right.
great idea, Matt. That cuts my words down to say, and then here's the link. You know, if you want to learn how a hub really works, watch this video.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Get your night back.